Hey Crafty Crew, today's video is packed full of farmhouse Easter projects I know you're going to love. Dollar Tree carries these wooden cubes with the drawer inserts. I'm using 2 of just the outside pieces. They're pretty rough to the touch, so I'm going to go over each one of those with a fine grit sandpaper. Once I clean all that debris off, I'm going to give these 2 coats of white acrylic paint on all sides, including the bottom, because the bottom will now become the top. I have allowed the white paint to dry, and this next step is completely optional, but I want mine to have a rustic distressed look, so I am using some acrylic paint in the color Burnt Umber, a dry paintbrush, and then I'm going to dip that into my paint and then wipe most of it off on a paper towel or a cloth and gently go around all of the edging. In the corners, I'm going to add just a little bit more of that brown paint to give it a more worn look. I'll do that for both of the boxes. And I was so excited to find these rub-on transfers at Dollar Tree. My store typically sells out of these very quickly. It has the cutest wreath images, some letters, and what really caught my eye was the little bunny at the bottom. So fortunately, I was able to find 2 of these because I wanted 2 of those bunnies. You can get really creative using some of these designs. If you've never used the rub-on transfers before, just cut your image out, decide where you want to place it, turn it over where the image is on the bottom, and then using a scraper or something with a flat edge, apply a little bit of pressure and go around all of the image. You can peel it back a little bit to make sure that the image is transferring over. Just make sure you put it back in the same place and continue to rub on the image until the entire image has transferred onto your project. And this turned out so cute. Now I do recommend that you go over it with a clear coat spray or some Mod Podge to seal that transfer in. I'm going to add some more images around each of the blocks, and I think it would be cute. You could really personalize these by taking some of these wreath forms and adding an initial in the center. So you just want to place your wreath form, then cut out the initial, place that. Now, because it's kind of small, you may want to tape it in place if you're having trouble holding it. But I'm going to create designs around both of the blocks, and I think this project turned out so cute. It was so easy to make, and I would love to know what you guys think. In Dollar Tree, I found this 4-pack of deep plastic plates for $1.25. We're going to use one of these, and it measures about 7¼ inches. You could leave it this color, but I want mine to have more of a spring and Easter feel to it. So I'm using Waverly's chalk paint in the color Celery. I'm going to apply 2 thin coats, allowing the coats to dry in between. That will give you a nice smooth finish, rather than putting too much on there, because chalk paint tends to be very thick. It can get clumpy and lumpy. So once I have the entire plate covered in 2 coats and it has dried, I want to add a little bit more character to mine by dry brushing some white acrylic paint on all sides. Dollar Tree carries a variety of different candle holders. I'm going to be using this white one, and it is the perfect color for the base of our riser we're making. I'm applying a generous amount of E6000 to the top of the candle holder, placing the plate on there, and then adding in a couple bottles of paint to allow that E6000 to set up. Although it has gorgeous spring colors, you could leave this out all year long. I'm going to decorate mine with 2 bunnies that I found at Hobby Lobby and some Dollar Tree carrots. For this project, I'm using one of Dollar Tree's fall signs. They had a couple of different designs. You could make this a 2-sided sign. However, I didn't like that it has the staples in the back and it already has the hanger. I'll be adding a layer of Mod Podge to the front, making sure I cover the entire front of the sign except for the frames at the top and the bottom. You do want to make sure you get all of those edges. Now set it to the side and allow your Mod Podge to thoroughly dry. I will be using some distressed floral scrapbook paper. I found this book at Hobby Lobby, and you can always get these when they have their 40% off sale. I thought this piece would be perfect for this sign. Now that my Mod Podge has dried, I'm going to put the scrapbook paper on the top. I want that large Shiplap piece to be set in the middle. So I'm going to create a crease at the bottom using my finger so I'll know exactly where to trim this off. I always like to make sure it's going to fit perfectly before attaching. I'm going to place a heat protective mat down, the sign, the scrapbook paper, a piece of parchment paper large enough to cover up your sign, and then I'm using a mini iron set on 365. You could also use a household iron. I do have this listed in my Amazon store, and the link to that is in my description box below if you're interested. You want to go over the entire piece, applying a little bit of pressure. You can test it to make sure it has sealed. And then I'm going to fold the extra pieces over on the side and let it cool down from the heat from the little mini heat press. You could sand those edges off to get a nice clean edge. However, I like the way it looked wrapped around the sides, so I'm just going to tape mine down to the back on each side. I have this wooden cross plaque that I purchased at Dollar General last year for $2. I'm going to go over that with my hairdryer to loosen up that glue so I can easily remove the label from the front and then the little tag from the back. Once I've allowed that to cool down, I can take my sandpaper and go over it to remove any of the excess glue that may be left over. Once I wipe that down, I'm going to apply 2 coats of that gorgeous celery chalk paint made by Waverly. I want to bring out the outline on mine, so this time I'm going to use some antique wax and dry brush around all of the edges. This is going to blend in perfectly with the frame on our sign. My sign is a little bit wobbly as well as the cross, so I know when I attach this, I am going to have to apply a generous amount of hot glue to the back and some pressure to really make sure that it stays in place. So I found that it was easier for me to flip over and just apply pressure to the back all across it until the hot glue cooled off. Now you could leave it just like this, but I want to add this gorgeous small grapevine wreath that I found at Hobby Lobby in a package, and I'm applying some hot glue just to the raised portions in the back and placing it right in the center. For our next project, we're using a glass mason jar. You just want to make sure one side doesn't have any raised portions on it. There's several different ways you can do this. You could paint it, or did you know if you apply a thin layer of Mod Podge to the outside of your jar, once it's dry, it gives it a gorgeous frosted look. I only applied one coat of Mod Podge, but you could apply multiple coats. Choose a napkin with a design on it that you like. This one came from Dollar General. Very carefully remove the backing so that you're only left with the top layer. Cut out the image that you want to use and then trim it as close to the image as possible. We're going to apply our napkin to the mason jar using that mini iron method. You want to be super careful. Do not apply a lot of pressure at all, and don't hold your iron in the same spot for too long because it will get that jar super hot. So you just want to do small sections at a time. You're only applying enough heat just to have that Mod Podge heat up and seal your napkin to the jar. And if yours is fairly large image like mine, you may have to very carefully rotate it and do the other side. Again, just be really careful because it will make the glass hot. This is my absolute favorite way to decoupage because once you are finished, it is absolutely wrinkle and bubble free. Now you may want to apply a layer of Mod Podge over top of your napkin to protect it or spray it with a clear sealant. But look how perfect this turned out. Using some purple Dollar Tree ribbon, I'm going to hot glue that around the rim of the mason jar. I decided at the very bottom of the jar up to where the image is, I wanted to add in some of Dollar Tree's crushed white rocks. I can add in some gorgeous artificial flowers that I found at Temu. For this project, we're using one of Dollar Tree's self-adhesive wall tiles, as well as one of their faux shiplap signs. I'm going to remove the hanger from the back because I want this to hang the long way. You're going to place your tile at the bottom of your sign, make a mark in the center at the bottom using a pencil, and then a little bit off of the side of the frame on each side. Then using a pair of scissors, start at the bottom, cut in curves all the way up to your lines at the top on each side. We are creating a carrot. Now the back of the piece will come off, so you're only left with the top layer. I'm going to paint this with 3 coats of an acrylic paint in the color Pumpkin. Now that the paint has dried, I'm going to take some fine grit sandpaper and very gently go over the raised portions of this wall tile to bring out that silver undertone. You can now attach the wall tile to the sign using some hot glue. Using some buffalo check ribbon that I already have on hand, I bought this from Amazon years ago. It has lasted me so long. I'm going to pull out a nice long length, leave a tail, create a small loop, create a loop below that, go around and continue creating loops until I have 8 total and 2 tails about the same length. Pinching it together in the middle, take a pipe cleaner and wrap that around, twist it really tightly in the center between the two tails. Leave the ends of your pipe cleaner on there, but go ahead and fluff out your loops and make your bow nice and fluffy and pretty. And then I'm going to take some greenery that I already had on hand. This came from Hobby Lobby. It has tiny little leaves on it, and I thought it would be perfect for the top of our carrot. I'm going to attach that to the bow using that extra pipe cleaner, and then I can cut that excess off as well as the stem at the bottom, and I'm going to hot glue this right to the top of the sign. Now you could reuse the hanger that originally came on it, but I have a natural bead hanger that I pulled off of another project before. I'm going to staple that to the back of the sign, and this project is finished. I hope you enjoyed today's projects and found tons of inspiration. And if you have a favorite, let me know in the comment section down below. I always love to know which one is your favorite. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. And if you haven't subscribed already, I would love for you to click that subscribe button right below the video. Please take care, and I'll see you guys next time.